Here we are again, back at Willowway Distribution Center, Avon, Ohio. And what we're going to talk about today, I'm going to show you plants that produce fruits, berries, cones, and that also fits in with this new buzzword going around that's called birdscaping. Because all plants that produce a fruit, a berry, of course, are excellent to attract birds. And whether you know it or not, you are actually into birdscaping. It's gotten to be quite a thing. It's a great hobby. Millions and millions of dollars are spent on bird products in the United States every year. And some of these plants we're going to show you, you'll learn a few. If you want to know a bunch of them, get on the internet. There's much information on there, and you can become a part of this, especially when your customer says, plant something that I love birds, plant something that's going to attract birds into my yard. So there's a lot of good information out there. As most of you know, to produce a berry, a fruit, you must have a flower. Now, every season is a little different. There are several things that will stop a plant from producing fruit, berries. Number one, most obvious, is freezing. That's freezing over the winter. Most of the flower buds on plants are set up in the fall. And if we have a harsh winter like we had the last two, some things just don't bloom. We've seen that happen. Another thing that causes that, the plant might not be old enough to flower. Therefore, no berries. Some plants, it takes a little while, a little bit more maturity, and they will. Most obvious thing that causes no fruit, berries, is pruning. And I'm not going to get into pruning today, but if you need information how to proper prune, there's again a lot of information on the internet. The problem with pruning, most landscapers just don't know how to do it. And what I see a lot of is what I call meatballing. They come in with their power shears, they take a Viburnum. Okay, the Viburnum was 8 foot tall, they want to make it 7, 6, they just cut the thing right in half. Take 2-3 foot off of it. Well, the plant's never going to bloom. Might take 2 years for the plant to recover, to make fruit, berries, flowers. And then they come back and they do it again. Another thing that stops the fruiting on plants is if a plant is fertilized too heavily. All that does is it does produce a lot of vegetation, and the plant never sets up a flower bud. Therefore, you're not going to have the berries. That is a blue-made holly, just starting to form berries. As you can probably see, the berries start out green, and then in time, they will turn red. And the one next to it over there, we do have red berries starting to form. Now we're in a batch of inkberry, Eyelets Reticulata. Not real conspicuous on this plant, the berries, and these are a little bit too young, but I found a few berries. It's a little cluster you're looking at right now. They form that black berry. I think you can see it. And this is one the birds really, really love. Bite-sized berries. Yeah, the plant you're looking at now is called Calocarpa, Beautyberry. It's not a well-known plant. It's a very, very beautiful plant. Doesn't get big. Probably in that 5 foot range. Easily maintained. And it gets kind of a violety pink flower on it in the spring. And then this is what happens in the fall. They're very, very popular, I know, out at the East Coast. And they grow very well here. They should be a Zone 5 plant. Much underused. Very distinctive blueberry. Yeah, now you're looking at Eyelets Reticulata. This is a very, very, very showy plant with berries. It is the one that you see around at Christmas time a lot. As in all the berry plants, they can be used at Christmas time. This one is sold commercially at the florist shops because floral designers use a lot of this in their decorations. And why do they do it? Because it holds up very, very well. This is a great example of what it looks like. Now what you're looking at is Pyracantha Firethorn. Beautiful, beautiful plant. You can see the orange berries on it. and it gets covered in the spring with a small white cluster type flower. It's really, really a good plant, and those berries will persist probably through maybe the end of December or so. It's a very showy plant when it's in berry. Now we're going to take a look at a few of the crabapples. Most people know that most crabapples get an apple. There are a few exceptions. The one that comes to mind is Spring Snow. That is a fruitless variety. Good for use around patios and what have you. You don't have the mess. But the one we're looking at right now is Sugar Time. Sugar Time gets a beautiful, beautiful berry on it, as you can see, a fruit. It is very persistent throughout the winter. And birds absolutely love that one. Just a quick little story. When I had my garden center many years ago, the tree was just introduced. I had carryover in the winter of probably about 6 or 8 of them. And about the beginning of March, a whole flock of robins came into the garden center, and they were feeding on the fruit. And they were acting very strangely. They were not normal robins. I don't know what the heck's wrong with those birds. I thought they were sick or something. Talked to a person that was very knowledgeable in birds and their feeding habits, and I was told as the apple hangs on the tree for a long period of time, it starts to ferment. So you know what happened to these birds. They got a little drunk, and at that time there were probably, I'm guessing, 40 to 50 robins all feeding on the same batch of tree. So, but this is a good one. It's also good for apple scab. It does not get it very lightly. Blooms white. Just one great tree. Yeah, the tree you're looking at now is Sargent I Crabapple. It's a smaller grower. It gets up maybe 8 to 10 foot. It has another variety that is called Sargentina, which gets a little smaller than that. Very, very cute little ornamental trees where it's small spaced area. However, it does grow horizontally more than it grows up. So you got to keep that in mind. Gets a white flower on it. Again, stays very clean. No apple scab. Then goes back a long ways. And I'll tell you, it is one of the best smaller crabs, I think, on the market yet today. Yeah, what we have here is a crab called Lancelot. It's a top-grafted variety. It does stay small, probably 6-7 foot tall, with maybe an 8-foot spread, and the apple is yellow. A little different. There's some other yellow varieties, but most of those are older varieties which are no longer in production. But this is a good one, and that also stays clean. Yeah, this is that newer variety of crabapple, Royal Raindrops. Has a purplish foliage to it, and gets a red fruit. Very, very persistent into the wintertime. And very small apples, which is one of the characteristics of these newer ones. That way they are not as messy, and the customers can't complain about the apples falling all over their yard. That size fruit right there, the birds will pluck that in a minute and take it away. Yeah, what you're looking at right now is a juniper. Just about all the junipers do produce berries, and this one is Juniper columnaris hetzi. And most of the berries on junipers, they start green, and then they will turn to blue. Now, getting back to the birds again, they will not eat them at this stage. They're just too hard. But as the hard winter progresses, generally late winter, these turn blue, then they become soft, and the birds will just devour them. Juniper is a great one. Yeah, now we're looking at a few viburnums. Viburnums are beyond a doubt one of the most popular berrying plants. They all give you something. The colors can range anywhere from blue, red, and in between. The one we're looking at right now is a rather new viburnum. It's been out for several years. It is called Winterthur. And this is a great plant. And it's not highly used, but it should be. The berry set on this, after it gets its white flower, it'll start out as a white berry, turn a pink, and then the pink goes to blue. So it's a changeable berry. Very interesting plant. Very, very good grower also. Yeah, now you're looking at Viburnum BlueMuffin. This is a good one. It does not have any fruit on because, of course, we trimmed them sometime this summer to let them come out. But it is a great, great plant. It really, really does a nice job. A little more upright growing, but a strong, strong grower. Great for hedging. And the fruit is blue once it's there. But it will take probably by next year. If they are planted now, they should produce a crop of berries. Now we're looking at Cotoneaster. This is a Reticulata. Probably one of my favorite plants. It's a great little thing. Doesn't get up too big. Nice ground cover, semi-height ground cover. Can get up 2-3 foot, but easily maintained. This thing gets a pinky white flower on it in the springtime, and then gets clusters of red berries, which you'll see shortly. And it is just one heck of a tough plant. It's been in existence for many, many years. Still serves a lot of purposes. Now you're looking at a seed pod from Liriope. Most of you know Liriope. You use a bunch of it. There's a variegated form. There's a green form. They get a blue spiky flower on them. Well, that blue spiky flower forms a little blue berry that you're looking at right now. And I was not aware of this fact, but I talked to somebody about birds, and this is very, very good bird attractant. They love these little berries. Now you're looking at our perennial section, which you've seen before. Just wanted to show you this because perennials, about all of them, get some form of a seed pod. And birds are attracted to seed pods of both annuals, perennials, whatever. And what most bird people do at the end of the season, in most cases, the seed pods are still hanging on, and your customer wants you to cut them down because it looks kind of ugly. But if they're bird people, and if the plants, the varieties have seed pods on them, leave them up for the winter, because they actually, the seed pods will attract birds into the yard. And that holds true for most of the perennials. Yeah, now I want to take a few minutes and I want to talk about the larger growing conifers. You're looking at Colorado spruce right now. Got some very, very nice specimens in stock. And what they do, and I'll get back to the bird thing again, they do attract birds because all the spruce, all the pine produce some type of a cone, which then opens and drops seed. And birds really, really love that one. And another thing that having a few pines and spruce in your yard do, or any heavier evergreens, good nesting areas, good protection in the wintertime. I've got a nice batch of taxus right next to where we feed the birds at home. And that's where they hang out. You bring the food out and they'll jump back and forth, fly back and forth. And any heavy evergreen, but especially spruce and pine, good protection in the winter for the birds. Yeah, what you're looking at now is Winter King hawthorne. Hawthorne is a tree that has a rather persistent berry on it. It's kind of an orange color. You'll see it in a bit here, a little closer. Nice tree, smaller grower, white flower in the spring, and then it forms its berries. And as they get a little bit older, the berry set is very, very heavy on hawthorne, very heavy. Yeah, before I close out today, I want to tell you about two more trees that you might consider that do get very, very beautiful fall color. They are both dogwoods. One is the common Cornus Florida, clusters of orange-red berries, really pretty. And the other one is Cusa. If you're not familiar with Cusa, it's a great dogwood. It blooms later in the spring, and generally in June. This time of the year it have drooping berries on it, red, and they are absolutely spectacular in the fall. And again, not to dwell on the birds constantly, but the birds love both of them. Two good more bird plants, bird trees. So we're going to wrap it up with that. Hope to see you next week.